Grandmother Koko and the Talking Shadows. Zara Ramirez never liked walking home alone after her evening shifts at the cafe, not because she was scared, she wasn't the type, but because the city felt different at night. It wasn't the usual dangerous at night thing, it was more like the streets whispered in ways they never did during the day. Lights flickered when she passed, trash cans rattled without wind, and sometimes in the reflection of a store window, she thought she saw someone walking behind her, only to turn and find nothing. But tonight she was too tired to think about anything unusual. Her backpack felt heavier than usual, stuffed with textbooks, a broken laptop she didn't have the money to fix, and a half-eaten sandwich wrapped in napkins. She tugged her hoodie closer to her neck and walked faster. It had been 6 months since she and her little brother Liam moved into this new city apartment. The building was old, the elevator broke every other week, and the landlord pretended not to hear complaints unless rent was late. But it was home, at least for now. Their mother had taken on night shifts at the hospital to pay bills, leaving the two siblings on their own most evenings. Zara had taken up the cafe job to help, even though she was drowning in college assignments on top of everything else. When she reached their door, she heard Liam laughing inside. That was strange, he didn't laugh much these days. She pushed the door open and stepped in, closing it behind her with her usual soft thud so she wouldn't startle him. "You won't believe what happened," Liam shouted before she could say hello. Zara dropped her backpack on the couch. "What?" "I met someone today, a lady. She lives on the top floor." "No one lives on the top floor," Zara cut in. "That place has been empty since we moved in." Liam shook his head vigorously, his curls bouncing. "No, she lives there. She told me her name is Grandmother Koko." Zara froze. This was not the first time he had mentioned seeing someone strange. A few weeks earlier, Liam said he saw a man walking up the stairs but disappearing into a wall. Zara dismissed it as imagination. He was only 9 after all. But this felt different. "And she said she's been watching over us," Liam continued casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "She gave me this." He handed Zara a small walnut-sized stone, black and smooth, but with swirls of faint silver that pulsed like tiny threads of moonlight. Zara's chest tightened. "Where did you say she lives?" "The top floor," Liam repeated. "She invited us to visit. She said she knows things about us." Zara closed her eyes for a moment. She didn't want to scare him, so she kept her voice steady. "Liam, never take gifts from strangers, you know that." "She's not a stranger," he said, his voice softening. "She knew Mom works at the hospital. She knew you're tired. She even knew about the shadows that follow us home." Zara's eyes shot open. "What shadows?" "The ones you pretend not to see," Liam said plainly. "I know you see them too." Zara swallowed hard. He wasn't wrong. Ever since they moved here, she noticed the same strange silhouettes shifting in corners with no one there, reflections that didn't match real shapes and dark patches that flickered like they were alive. She thought it was just stress, lack of sleep, too much pressure, and now Liam was saying it like it was fact. "Zara," he whispered, "Grandmother Koko said she can explain everything." Zara wasn't sure what to say. For the first time in months, Liam looked hopeful, and hope was something she didn't want to crush, so she smiled weakly. "Okay, show me tomorrow." That night, though she slept with her eyes closed, her mind stayed awake for hours. The next evening after school and work, Liam practically dragged her toward the stairwell. They climbed past their floor, past the storage level, and then reached the landing where the light always flickered like it was struggling for breath. The door to the top floor was always locked, rusted shut even. But today it stood open a few inches, warm light spilling out. Zara's heartbeat sped up. Liam pushed the door gently, and it opened without a sound. What Zara expected was darkness, dust, cobwebs. What she found instead stopped her breath. The entire floor was transformed into what looked like a home pulled out of stories. Warm golden lights, tapestries with constellations, shelves filled with jars of strange herbs, glowing stones and books older than the building itself. And in the middle of the room, seated in a rocking chair carved with star patterns, was an elderly woman with silver hair braided down to her knees. She wore a robe the color of twilight and had eyes so bright they looked lit from within. "Welcome, Zara," the woman said softly. "I've been waiting." Zara felt her stomach drop. "How do you know my name?" "I know much more than your name," she said, her smile warm but powerful. "Come, sit." Liam ran to her side like this was an everyday visit. Zara took a much slower step forward, the air thick with something she couldn't describe. It wasn't danger, it wasn't fear, it was significance, like stepping into a moment that would change everything. Grandmother Koko reached into a wooden bowl and offered Zara a cup of tea. Zara didn't take it. "I'm not drinking anything." "Very wise," Grandmother Koko nodded approvingly. "Always question what is handed to you. Your strength is your suspicion and your weakness." Zara felt exposed. "What do you want with us?" "To help you," Koko said simply. "I help all children who carry heavy shadows, and you, Zara, carry many." "Shadows? That word again. Why does Liam keep saying shadows follow us?" Zara asked. Grandmother Koko lifted an old lantern from beside her chair. "Because they do, and because they have been for a very long time." Zara's breath caught. The lantern flickered, and suddenly the room dimmed, not dark, but a soft veil settled around them. Shadows began to form on the floor, stretching like ink expanding across water. Liam didn't flinch. He watched curiously as if he'd seen this before. Zara stepped back, fists clenched. "What is this?" "Truth," Grandmother Koko answered. The shadows curled upward, taking human-like shapes without forming faces. "These are not monsters," the old woman continued. "These are memories, echoes, fragments of things left unsaid, pain carried silently." Zara shook her head. "That doesn't make any sense." "Oh, but it does," Koko whispered. "These shadows do not belong to this building, they belong to you." Zara froze. "To me?" "Yes, you have been carrying them since childhood. Every unspoken fear, every heavy responsibility, every time you had to be stronger than your age allowed. They gather around you unseen but felt, and they make you tired, Zara, very tired." Zara blinked rapidly, suddenly feeling exposed in ways she didn't like. "And what about Liam?" she managed to whisper. "He sees what others ignore," Grandmother Koko said affectionately. "He does not carry shadows, he listens to them, a gift, rare." Zara looked at Liam, who looked back with a small proud smile. "So what do you want us to do?" Zara asked. "Allow me to teach you," Koko said. "You must learn to release your shadows, and Liam must learn to understand his gift. If you don't, the shadows will grow heavy enough to suffocate your light." Zara was silent, her throat tightened. For months she felt exhausted beyond what work and school could explain, but she didn't want magic. She wanted simplicity, normal life, a life where strange lanterns and talking shadows didn't exist. But life hadn't been normal long before she met Koko. "What do I have to do?" she whispered. Koko smiled softly. "Come back tomorrow at midnight and bring nothing but honesty." And so she did. Night after night, Zara visited Grandmother Koko. Liam often joined, sometimes falling asleep on Koko's oversized cushions while Zara practiced the strange lessons. They weren't spells. There were no wands, no rituals. Instead, Koko taught her how to see herself, truly see, to face the heavy things she ignored, to acknowledge her exhaustion, not mask it, to feel instead of pushing everything down. The more she faced her emotional shadows, the more the real shadows around her thinned, softened, and dissolved. Some nights she cried. Some nights she sat in silence. Some nights she raged at the world for the unfairness of everything. And Koko simply listened, and the shadows did too. One night, after weeks of this, Zara arrived to find the room dark except for the lantern. Koko sat still, her breathing shallow. "You're leaving," Zara whispered. Koko nodded slowly. "My time with you grows short, you no longer need me." Zara shook her head. "Yes, I do. I don't understand everything yet." "You understand enough," Koko said, touching her hand. "Your shadows no longer rule you, and Liam has learned to listen without fear. You two will walk with clarity now." "But who are you really?" Zara asked. Grandmother Koko smiled. "Someone the world forgets until it needs me, a keeper of forgotten truths, a teacher of quiet gifts, and a friend." Zara's eyes filled with tears. "Will we see you again?" "In shadows, perhaps," Koko smiled gently, "but not as you know me." The lantern flickered. The air stirred. The shadows gathered one last time, not as figures, but as soft shapes that wrapped around Koko like a blanket. And then she was gone. The room vanished as well. Zara gasped as she found herself and Liam standing in the dark, dusty, abandoned top-floor hallway, the one that had been locked for years. But the black stone in Liam's hand still glowed softly, and Zara felt lighter than she had in years. From that night on, the shadows never returned. But sometimes, when the city lights flickered softly, or when the wind brushed Zara's hair, or when Liam laughed at something only he could hear, they both knew. Grandmother Koko was never truly gone. She was simply in the places only quiet hearts notice. And Zara, finally free of her heavy shadows, walked forward into her life, not unburdened but unafraid.